Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare
ప్రభు మీ వాయిస్ రావట్లే.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
హరే కృష్ణ.
Prabhu.
వాయిస్ రావట్లేదు. అయిపోయిందా కీర్తన అయిపోయిందా?
వినిపిస్తలేదా?
ఇప్పుడు దాకా వచ్చింది, ఇప్పుడే
అదేమో ప్రభు సిగ్నల్ ప్రాబ్లం ఏమో. ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుందా? చేస్తారా అంటే చేయండి ప్రభు, నో ప్రాబ్లం.
చేయండి.
హరే కృష్ణ, హరే కృష్ణ, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే రామ, హరే రామ, హరే హరే, హరే కృష్ణ, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే హరే, హరే రామ, రామ రామ, హరే హరే, హరే కృష్ణ, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే హరే, హరే రామ, రామ రామ, హరే హరే, హరే కృష్ణ, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే రామ, రామ హరే హరే, హరే కృష్ణ, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే హరే, కృష్ణ కృష్ణ, హరే హరే, హరే రామ, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Gaura Hare, Jayo Anand, Jaya Baladeva, Devi
అది వినపడట్లేదు. ఎందుకు వినపడట్లేదు? ప్రభు కొంచెం వినపడట్లే ప్రభు, కొంచెం ఏమైనా ట్రై చేయండి, కొంచెం దగ్గరికి పెట్టు. వినపడట్లే. నెట్వర్క్ ప్రాబ్లం అనుకుంటా. సౌండ్ రావట్లే.
ఇప్పుడు ప్రభుజీ వినిపిస్తుందా?
ఇప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుంది, మీరు మాట్లాడినప్పుడు వినిపిస్తుంది.
కీర్తన అసలు లేదా?
వస్తుంది అప్పుడప్పుడు, మాట్లాడించిపోతుంది.
నెట్ ప్రాబ్లం ఉంది అయితే ప్రభుజీ. నేను వేరే కనెక్ట్ చేస్తాను ప్రభు.
ఓకే,
అందుకే అప్పటికి వీడియో ఆఫ్ చేశాను. అందుకే వీడియో ఆన్ ఉంటే నెట్ కానీ వీడియో కూడా ఆఫ్ చేశాను. సెకండ్ ప్రభుజీ.
ఐ థింక్ ప్రభు వచ్చేస్తారు, రావాల్సింది ఈ పాటికి.
ఓకే ప్రభు.
ఓకే,
మీరు చేస్తారంటే చేయండి ప్రభు.
లేదు, ప్రభు వచ్చేస్తారు 1 or 2 minutes. మోస్ట్లీ హిల్ కమ్ ఇన్.
నార్మల్ నమో విష్ణు పదాయన చేద్దామా?
హరే కృష్ణ చేయండి. హరే కృష్ణ.
ఎస్ ప్రభు. హరే కృష్ణ హరే కృష్ణ 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 హరే హరే రామ హరే రామ 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 హరే 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 కృష్ణ 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 హరే 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 రామ హరే రామ. వచ్చారా ప్రభుజీ? Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
We'll start with the prayers. Om Gyantimirandasya Gyananjana Sarakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupamayam Dadati Sapadantika. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Uttapadagamulam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsa Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sagana Raghunatham Tam Tam Sadivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhamritamsa Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasha Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamne Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shrivadi Pasad Destane Vanchakar Padruvasakar Pasinduev Patitanam Pavni Devashmi Gunam Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prem Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurjase Nama He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenbandhu Jagtpate Gopsa Gopika Gandha Radha Kanta Namaste Tapt Kanchan Gaurangi Shri Radha Vrindavaneshwari Vishwanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Nilachandamasa Nitya Paramatmane Balbhadra Subhadra Bhyam Jagannatha Ite Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So we are done till which verse?
2.41 Prabhuji. Vyavasayatma buddhi.
Okay, so we have to start from 42.
Yes, Prabhuji.
We are done 40 and 41.
40 is completed, Prabhuji. 41 is not yet.
Okay, 41 is a minute. Yeah. So 41. Vyavasatim ka buddhir eke he kuru nandana bahusakha hi anantasya buddhayo avasayinam. Please read the translation.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute in many branches.
So in Bhakti Yoga, the intelligence is one branched. the when Lord is using the word Buddhyo Avisaina, actually he is referring to Bhakti Yoga. So in Bhakti Yoga, the intelligence is one branched. Why it is one branched? Because sadhana and sadha are same. So one is chanting now, one is chanting later on. So one knows that one's sadhana is to serve the lotus feet of Guru and Krishna, and that is one's goal also, because we are eternal servant of Krishna. So in this way, one remembers and glorifies the Supreme Lord as per instructions of the Guru. So one understands that is my sadhana and that is my sadhya. And this is the verse which inspired Prabhupada to go to the West, especially some of the lines of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. You can go through the whole purport. This is like very inspiring purport.
Hare Krishna, bro. Purport. A strong faith that by Krishna consciousness one will be elevated to the highest perfection of life is called Vyavasayatmika intelligence. The Chaitanya Charitamrita states, Shraddha Sabde Viswasa Kahe, Sudra Nishchaya, Krishna Bhakti Kaile, Sarva Karma Krutakhai. Faith means unflinching trust in something sublime. When one is engaged in the duties of Krishna consciousness, he need not act in relationship to the material world with obligations to family traditions, humanity, or nationality. Fruitive activities are the engagements of one's reactions from past good or bad deeds. When one is awake in Krishna consciousness, he need no longer endeavor for good results in his activities. When one is situated in Krishna consciousness, all activities are on the absolute plane, for they are no longer subject to dualities like good and bad. The highest perfection of Krishna consciousness is renunciation of the material conception of life. This state is automatically achieved by progressive Krishna consciousness. The resolute purpose of a person in Krishna consciousness is based on knowledge. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Samahatma Sudurlabhaha. A person in Krishna consciousness is the rare good soul who knows perfectly that Vasudeva or Krishna is the root of all manifested causes. As by watering the root of a tree, one automatically distributes water to the leaves and branches, so by acting in Krishna consciousness, one can render the highest service to everyone, namely self, family, society, country, humanity, etc. If Krishna is satisfied by one's actions, then everyone will be satisfied. Service in Krishna consciousness is, however, best practiced under the able guidance of spiritual master, who is a bona fide representative of Krishna, who knows the nature of the student and who can guide him to act in Krishna consciousness. As is to be well versed in Krishna consciousness, one has to act firmly and obey the representative of Krishna, and one should accept the instruction of the bona fide spiritual master as one's mission in life. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur instructs us in his famous prayers for the spiritual master as follows. Yasya prasadat Bhagavad prasado, yasya prasadat nagati kutopi, dhyayansu vandasya, yasya Sri Sandhya, vande Guru Sri Charanara. By satisfaction of the spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes satisfied. And by not satisfying the spiritual master, there is no chance of being promoted to the plane of Krishna consciousness. I should therefore meditate and pray for his mercy 3 times a day and offer my respectful obeisances unto him, my spiritual master. The whole process, however, depends on perfect knowledge of the soul beyond the conception of the body, not theoretically but practically. When there is no longer a chance for sense gratification manifested in fruitive activities, one who is not firmly fixed in mind is diverted by various types of fruitive acts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. So what is sadhya? Sadhana means one practice of Krishna consciousness, and sadhana means goal of the practice of one's Krishna consciousness. That's called sadhya. So in this particular verse, first quote by from Chaitanya Charitamrita is the definition of Shraddha. So we say that Ado Shraddha, Bhakti begins with Ado Shraddha. So what is that Shraddha? Shraddha Sabdi Vishwas Kale Sudre Nischay Krishna Bhakti Kole Sarva Karma Detu Hai. The firm faith that if I just practice Krishna consciousness, I don't have to worry at all. Like in 8th chapter, last verse, which will come later on, Krishna says that one who practices Krishna consciousness is not deprived of the results which come from practice of Ashtanga Yoga or the practice of reading of Vedic literatures or doing various vratas, austerities. So a devotee gets everything. So that faith should be there. And another faith which Prabhupada is talking about is faith in the instruction of the spiritual master. So instruction of the spiritual master are the life and soul of the disciple. These were the lines of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, which inspired Prabhupada to go to the West. Otherwise, at the age of 70, those who are 70 can understand. It's very difficult to even open something or start something. What to say of going to the West and having so much of struggle. I think this Sunday, yes, last Sunday, we had some festival, Prabhupada Memorial Festival in Calcutta. So Hari Sori Prabhu was giving a class. He was telling that he and some more devotees, they attended some seminar related to health. So people from various organizations came and they were speaking about health. So one of the persons who was speaking, so he was not a devotee, and he was telling to our devotees, he was saying that you people can never understand, you people don't know what your spiritual master has done for you. And these devotees were thinking, this fellow is not even practicing Krishna consciousness. We have dedicated our life, and he's saying we don't know, he knows. And then he said, you will realize that only when you become 70 years old. So only in such a age when there is so much struggle with health, it's very difficult. So these were the words which inspired Prabhupada. Instruction of the spiritual master are the life and soul of the disciple. But at the same time, it is easier for devotees to perform because things are very crystal clear. Sadhana and sadha are same. Whereas for other practitioners, things change. So I don't know whether I showed this PPT to you before. Like for example, those who are practicing Jnana Yoga, they have to take care of so many things. Initially, Niskam Karma Yoga, for those who are aspiring to get Brahman by Jnana Yogi, initially they perform Niskam Karma Yoga also. And actually that is the whole motive of Isopanishad. Although Prabhupada has given totally personal purports, but that is a part of Jnana Shastra, Isopanishad. So Niskam Karma Yoga is practiced so that one can purify one's mind of doership mentality. So if you remember, in Jnana Yoga, the prerequisite was freedom from doership mentality, the graph which we showed. When one is purified of doership mentality, one has to give up actions, means one has to give up Niskam Karma Yoga, and he has to concentrate on Jnana. At the same time, Jnana itself is not enough. So one has to practice Bhakti along with Jnana so that one can get the result of Jnana. Then after that, when one's Jnana destroys one's Ajnana, means Vidya destroys Avidya. What is Vidya? I am not body. What is Avidya? I am the body. Or I am not matter or I am matter. So when I am not matter destroys matter, then there is no need of, once you realize that I am not matter, there's no need of the theory of I am not matter. So the comparison is given like that of fire and a wood. When wood is put in fire, fire starts burning wood. When the whole wood is consumed, fire also is extinguished. Similarly, then there is no use of such a gyan. So one has to give up that gyan also for entering in Brahman. Otherwise, one will return to the matter again. If one remembers that I am not matter, that means you are remembering matter. One has to come back to matter. So one has to give up that. So one has to accept so many things and give up so many things. Now, if we have such a complex thing in devotion service, I think many people would run away. Kya Prabhuji, ye karo, wo karo, no, do this, do that, give up this, give up that. But bhakti is very easy. Chant Hare Krishna now, chant Hare Krishna forever. Worship deities now, worship deities forever. Follow instruction of spiritual master now, follow instruction of spiritual master forever. So that's why Vyavasayatmika Buddhi. It's very easy to concentrate the mind. And why the word Vyavasai is used in particular, because Vyavasai means businessman. So for person whose Vyavasatmika means whose business is one's life and soul, such a person is very absorbed in his business. If you see the typical traditional businessman, they will find them sitting in with one banyan and some pajama or lungi, and then they would be counting money. And when they count money, whole world disappears for them. Even if some marriage function is going on, some other program is going on, they are totally unaware of that. When they count money, they are so absorbed. Similarly, for a devotee, it is possible to absorb oneself in Krishna consciousness, because things are very crystal clear and they don't change. So that is the purport of this particular verse. So similarly, devotees should be absorbed in the instruction of spiritual master. And instruction of spiritual master doesn't have to be just personal. See, Vyavasaya means not cultivation. Vyavasaya means business. Those who know Hindi know that. Vyavasaya. Aapka vyavasaya kya hai? What is your business? And generally, it means those are businessmen. So, yes. So for devotees, whatever we get here from spiritual master, those are the instructions of spiritual master. Whatever we read in Bhagavad Gita, whatever we hear from spiritual master, they are the instructions of spiritual master. And they should become one's life and soul. That means spiritual master says, chant Hare Krishna 16 rounds very attentively in the morning. Do it. He says, now you should spend this much time for reading Prabhupada books. Do that. So then things are very clear. Things are very clear. So that is the meaning of this particular verse. Now Krishna compares them with the karmakandis whom he had glorified just now. Just now Krishna was saying that, my dear Arjuna, fight in the war, because if you fight in the war, if you die, you go to heaven. And if you win, you will get glory in this world. Now you'll find when Krishna is speaking about devotion service, how he compares his own concept. That's why many times when we say things are good and bad, they are relative. Compared to what it is good, compared to what it is bad. That's why in preaching also, we have to be a bit careful to see that people should advance in Krishna consciousness. They should not degrade. Like for people who are doing some sort of karma kanda process, initially we introduce chanting of Hare Krishna. We don't condemn karma kanda. If you condemn karma kanda, they will leave that also. And they are anyway not practicing Krishna consciousness. So all hopes for elevation are lost. Initially, we just tell them chant Hare Krishna. After a few years, we tell them leave this, leave that. Slowly. So now Krishna is comparing 40 to 43. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadante vipaschitaha vedavat partha nanyat astiti vadinaha kamatmanaha swargpara janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaswar gatim prati. Please read the translation.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruits activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
Yeah. So this is an example of Bahusakha. Bahusakha means, like in the previous verse, Bahusakha hi anantasya buddhya visayinam. So those who are not resolute in their purpose, those who are not practicing devotion service, for them their intelligence is multi-branched. So the example is given here. So yamam pushpitam vacha pravanti vipaschitaha. So these people, they speak as if the words of karmakanda are very excellent. Why? Avapaschitaha. Avapaschitaha means because they are foolish. Because they interpret the word of the Vedas, Vedavad Rata, according to their own sense gratification. So then they do things like performing Chaturmas, drinking Somras to become immortal. And then they say that there is no God other than this. Na anat astiti vadina. Means whole goal of life is sense gratification. And we will get sense gratification by performing Vedic sacrifices. And when you want to perform Vedic sacrifices for sense gratification, then there are so many rules and regulations. Because if we are not careful in performing rules and regulations, one will incur sin. Like I gave the example last time. Anybody who follows Chaturmas or 4 months very, very strictly, but doesn't do Paran properly, he will not get benefit of performing Chaturmas. At the same time, one will get sin by wrongly performing Chaturmas. So it's extremely dangerous. So that's why they have a lot of detail to talk about. So once I was sitting in a train, and Calcutta is ruled by Marwadis. Marwadis are the ruler of Calcutta. Bengalis work under Marwadis. Now, so these Marwadis, they were sitting in front in the train. The whole time they were talking about, no, you should put this tree, not that tree. You should eat while facing this direction, not that direction. You should sleep like this. You should sit like that. You should walk like that. You should go to this place. You should go to that place. Practically for 2-3 hours, continuously do this and don't do this. So, no, even to remember all these details is so difficult. What to say of practicing them? That's why these people don't know that ultimately even karma kanda is entangling one in pious activities. So Prabhupada gives the example of as foods are attached to flowers of poisonous trees. So flowers in poisonous tree may look very beautiful, but then they are filled with poison. Similarly, the Vedic scriptures, they talk about karma kanda. The results are dangerous because they further entangle one in pious activities. Now somebody may say Krishna was earlier glorifying, now he is condemning. earlier when compared to not following Vedic scriptures, not doing much duty, karma kanda is better. So Krishna was glorifying karma kanda. But when you compare to devotion service, they are like poisonous flowers or flowers in poisonous tree. Because anyway, even karma kanda elevates the consciousness of a person, but compared to bhakti, it will take millions of lifetimes or billions of lifetimes. And anyway, it doesn't give a direct perception of Supreme Lord. So that's why it is condemned. Like for example, now only Navratri is coming. So many people want to celebrate. But then you keep on celebrating for many, many lifetimes. So they do two mistakes. What is two mistakes? First mistake is they don't understand the practice of worshipping the Lord itself is perfection of life. They think the sense objects which come from the worship are the sources of happiness, not the worship itself. See, like outside people, many times they are surprised that why so many intelligent, wealthy people, they practice Krishna consciousness. Because they say that ultimately God is meant for getting wealth. You already have wealth. God is meant for getting education. You already have education. Because from education and from wealth, you get fame and you get sense objects. But they don't know that practice of Krishna consciousness gives higher pleasure than one gets from sense gratification. So there's one mistake, serious mistake which they do. And because of that, they never think of trying to realize the goal of the Vedas. That's why they are called Ved, Vad, Rata. They're too strongly attached to the words of the Vedas without knowing the purpose of the Vedas. That's more clearly pointed out in the next verse. भोग ऐश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां तया प्रतचेतसां व्यवसात्मिका बुद्धि समाधौ न विधीयते. Please read the translation.
The mind of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulences and who are bewildered by such things, a resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
So, bhog aishwarya prasaktanam means strongly attached. To what? Bhoga means sense gratification or power. And aishwarya means opulences of this world. So those who want to enjoy this world, those who are attached to the opulences of this world, and their intelligence is very much attached to that, vyavasatmika buddhi samadho na vidiyate. They can't have fixed intelligence. Why they can't have fixed intelligence? Because sense objects don't give you happiness for a long time. And sense objects also keep on changing. Example. Now you want some car. You work very hard to get a car. But after 6 months, some new model comes out, which is cheaper than this model and more better than this model. Then you lament like anything. Oh, I should have waited for 6 months. Another desire comes, why not this car? Or at least, no, all devotees may not have car, but they have maybe having mobiles. Same thing happens with the mobile. Wait every 6 months, new model comes out. So then what happens is, desire to get newer and newer sense objects keeps on coming. And because there is a strong desire for enjoyment, one's intelligence cannot be stable in one's practice. Because one thinks this thing will make me happy. Another advertisement comes, no, something else will make me happy. Then third thing comes, and mind keeps on, intelligence keeps on changing. So that is what Lord is pointing out. Tragunna Vasya Veda Nestragunna Bhava Arjuna Nidvanda Nitya Satyasto Niryog Shem Atmavan. Please read.
The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Yeah. So in this verse, what Lord is saying, Nistragunna Bhava Arjuna. That means go above the modes of material nature, and only bhakti is above the modes of material nature. So Lord is basically inspiring Arjuna to give up all sort of yogas, because karma kanda is in mode of passion, sakam karma yoga is in mode of passion, niskam karma yoga is in mode of goodness, jnana yoga is in mode of goodness, ashtanga yoga is in mode of goodness. Only bhakti is above modes. So he is saying, Lord is saying, so don't go after this dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is so much glorified in a major portion of the Vedas. So from practice of dharma, one gets artha, means money. From money, one gets sense objects which one can enjoy. And when one is frustrated with the enjoyment, one looks for liberation, getting rid of the miseries. So this a person is caught up in other Vedic processes. But Lord says no. Read only those parts of Vedas which are concerned with bhakti. So Lord is not condemning Vedic scriptures themselves, because even bhakti has to be followed in terms of what is given in Vedas. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatkim Vidivina Ekantikir Harir Bhakti Utpadeva Kalpate. So anybody who practices bhakti by his own mind, that is called utpad. Utpad means disturbance in the society. Whereas bhakti is also described in some portions of the scriptures. Like Gopal Tapani Upanishad, Gita Upanishad, they all talk about bhakti. So those portions should be read. One should not do it blindly. So Krishna is not discouraging Arjuna to follow Vedas, but those portions of the Vedas which deal with three modes of material nature. So Gyan, Karma, as I told, they deal with three modes of material nature. So Nirdvanda, become free of dualities. Nitya Sattva, become fixed in. Nitya Sattva means Shuddha Sattva. Because in this world, Sattva Gun is mixed with mode of passion and ignorance. So in that sense, it is not Nitya. And then you will taste Bhakti Rasa, which will free you from all anxiety for gain and safety. Because who takes care of you? Lord takes care of you. Yoga Chema Vahamaham. In 9.22, Krishna says, Ananyas Chintayanto Mam Yedana Parivipasate Tesam Nityabhyukta Mam Yoga Chema Vahamaham. So Krishna takes care of, gives you what you lack and preserves what you have. So you don't have to worry. So in this way, practice bhakti. Okay. Reference verse which says bhakti is transcendental. It is in the 11th canto. So exactly, I remember the verse. This is, but right now it may be difficult for me to find. I think it is 11th canto, chapter number 25, as far as I remember. So wait for a minute. I think it is 11.25. You can see the verses from 24 to 29. So there Krishna explains some angas. There may not be direct verses. There are direct verses also there. But in 24 to 29, Krishna explains that how forest is in mode of goodness and villages. Towns and cities are in mode of passion. And those who are brothels, etc., they are in mode of ignorance. But my temples are transcendental, above the three modes. So rather than many verses, let's talk about how bhakti is transcendental. So it is 11.25 to 24 to 29.
Yes, Prabhu. In 24th verse, Krishna is saying, Mannishtam nirgunam smrutam. Knowledge based upon me, however, is understood to be transcendent.
Yes. So there only it is there. So it's 11.25.
25, 24.
24. So 24 to 29. 24 to 29, all the angas are given. All limbs are given, how they are transcendental. Okay. And then in 46. 46, Lord says, Yavanartha artha udapane sarvata sampludodake tavan sarvesu vedesu brahmanasya vijanatah. Please read the translation.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose of behind them.
So now Lord gives another example. Now Arjuna may have a question. My dear Lord, you are saying that your devotees are like very focused. They are one branch, not multi-branched. But even if your devotees may also have material desires, so then how can you say that they are no focused on one thing? So then Lord gives this example. He says that even if my devotees have material desires and they may approach me with material desires, that means they may not be pure devotees but mixed devotees, but even they are better than other demigod worshippers. Why? Because for everything they at least approach me. They don't approach different people for different things. Not that now you want some wealth, etc., you worship Durga. You want some auspicious in life, then you go for Ganesh Chaturthi. So in this way, different people are not required. So Krishna gives the example of wells. In the different wells, different purposes are solved. So in the villages, if you see, especially the villages which are cultured villages. In the cultured villages, different wells are meant for different purposes. One well, from there, if you take water for taking water so that you can answer to nature's call and take bath, then there other people won't come for washing pots. So for washing pots, there would be a different well. Then for washing Lord's paraphernalia, there would be a different well. So in the cultural villages, people knew which well to approach for what purposes. So in this way, different people, wells were made for different purposes. But if there is a big reservoir of water, if there is a river, then you don't have to worry because river has a flowing water. From same river, you can use water for your morning duties also, for worshipping also, and for other purposes, every purposes. Similarly, one has to worship different devatas for different purposes. So if you see this verse, Akama Sarva Kamova Moksha Kamodardi, before that verses, Bhagavatam tells that which devata has to be worshipped for which purpose. So big list is there. You want to get rid of the diseases, worship Suryadev. If you want a good wife, worship Shiva or Urvasi.
So in this way, different people have to be worshipped for different purposes, different demigods. But as far as devotees are concerned, all their desires can be fulfilled just by worshipping or approaching Lord Vishnu. And what to say of devotees who are practicing pure devotional service? If they don't worship the Lord for fulfillment of those desires and they just depend on the Lord, then without asking only Lord fulfills all the desires. That we will find for the devotees many times after few years they have a realization that whatever desire you have, Lord fulfills them, either physically or in the dream. So that's why one has to be very careful while desiring. So for devotees, they don't have to concentrate on different demigods or worship different people. Object of meditation is only one. He's the same person. So Vijanataha. So such a person, he knows the purpose of Vedas. Purpose of Vedas is not fulfillment of desires, but to get rid of the desires and finally to fulfill the desires of the Lord. So that is the purpose of Vedas. Somebody had a hand raise. Now it is not there.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Yes.
Prabhu, I about to ask actually, just if you need anything or if any personal issues, can we ask Lord or not required? Automatically he will take care. We don't want to ask him anything, or can we ask him, Prabhu?
See, rather than asking demigods, ask the Lord.
No, that's what is Prabhu. Krishna, I'm referring, yes, Prabhu.
But if you are in a position where you can depend on the Lord, then you don't have to ask also. So it depends on the level of faith. If we have full faith that whatever is required for me, Krishna will give, you don't have to ask. But if that faith is not there, still things are like doubtful, then better ask Krishna. But after asking, you can request the Lord, my dear Lord, then no, whatever you feel is best for me, do it. Then we can pray like that. But in due course of time, we'll realize that whatever is best for us, Krishna is doing that. If we are really sincere in our devotion service, so then we don't have to ask. But at least we don't have to ask different demigods. Even if you approach different demigods, let us say some Durga Puja, Ganesh Chaturthi is going on, then pray for pure devotion service. Please give me pure devotion service. Okay.
Yes, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So till now, when Krishna was talking about Buddhyo Avisainam, he was talking about Buddhi, intelligence. He was talking about Bhakti Yoga. Now Krishna again talks about the intelligence, but then that is related to Niskam Karma Yoga. So that will be very clear from 47. 47 itself is a definition of Niskam Karma Yoga. कर्मणेवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भूर्माते संगो अस्त अकर्मणि. Please read.
You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty. Hare Krishna.
Till now, Krishna talk about Gyan in terms of we are not body, we are soul. He talked about Karma Kanda. He talked about Bhakti also in the just previous verses. But Bhakti one gets by associating with a Bhakta. Arjuna is playing here role of a conditioned soul. From that point of view, Krishna is speaking. So then Krishna starts thinking, oh, I also don't give devotion service directly. It comes only in asuna of pure devotee. So then there's no use of talking about Bhakti now. Let me tell Arjuna what is applicable for him at this point of time. So he's a Kshatriya, he should fight. So Krishna starts speaking about Niskam Karma Yoga. So what is this Niskam Karma Yoga? That action with a desire for result makes a person the cause of the result. Action with a desire for result makes a person cause of the result. That's why what one should do? One should do one's duty. So karmanne evadikaraste. What is in your hand is your duty. So worry about what you have. So what do you have? You have all rights to perform your duty. So perform your duty. But ma phalesu kadachana. Don't be attached to fruits. Why? Because anyway fruits are not in your hands. Like parents can take care of children, that is their duty. But what will actually happen is not in their hands. They can try their best. Men can go out and work in their jobs very nicely. But whether there will be promotion, increment of salary, it is not in your hand. You do your duty, but what that is not in your hand. So you should not worry about what is not in your hand. You should worry about what is there in your hand. Because if you get inspired by enjoyment of results, you get entangled. Results come, one becomes entangled with happiness. One starts enjoying sense gratification, one becomes entangled. Results that don't come, then one becomes affected and entangled by distress. So one becomes entangled. So if one performs duty with a desire to enjoy the results of one's activities, then one becomes entangled. What it means is, now suddenly somebody is investing in the business, or some Mataji is cooking in the home. One knows objectively how much salt should I put so that your sambar is very nice. Or how should I work so that I get promotions, I get money. That can be done. But if Mataji is cooking things that I will enjoy this recipe, I should cook in such a way that I'll enjoy. Or man thinks I'll work in such a way that I'll enjoy the results of my money. I'll purchase this, I'll purchase that, and then I'll enjoy. Maybe I'll go for some foreign tour when I get this much money or some salary hike. So then that is condemned. So the desire to enjoy sense gratification is condemned, not the objective result, desire for objective result. Objective result has to be known in order to work. And ma karma phal hetur bhur. Don't think yourself to the cause of the results. Because ultimately results are not in your. And I think practically everybody gets this realization by the time you become young. Sometimes you'll find some of your friends coming and studying from you, and they get better marks than you in school days. Right? Many of you may be having that realization. Somebody comes, they learn from you, and no, they only get good marks. Similarly, some people come, you help them get a job, and then after a few days, you find them, they becoming your boss. Or sometimes other person, he may not be working very hard, and he gets promotion, you don't get promotion. I've seen people going in depression because of that. So in this way, when results are not in your hand, don't think yourself to the cause of the results. Then somebody may say, oh, how will I get inspiration then? Better not work. If we can't enjoy the results now, why to work? Lord said, no. Mate sang asta akarmani. Don't become lazy. Do your duty. Because if you become lazy, one becomes entangled by a mode of ignorance. That is stronger binding than just working for results. One who works for results becomes entangled by mode of passion. One who becomes lazy becomes entangled by mode of ignorance. Mode of ignorance is more binding than mode of passion. That's why don't become lazy, do your duty. At the same time, don't desire results because anyway they are not in your hands. And in due course of time, one understands that ultimately you get higher taste by performing duty than enjoying results or desiring results. Because what happens is, whether you perform duty or don't perform duty, results will come anyway, if they're destined to come. But one doesn't suffer the anxiety of getting whether I'll get result or not get result. One doesn't suffer with the anxiety of whether results would come or not come. Just by practicing that, slowly one gets a higher taste and one understands, yes, it's better to be on duty platform than being on the platform of desire to enjoy. So there are okay. Anupam Mukund, please explain difference between routine work, emergency work, and desired activities. Routine work means some work which you do anyway. Whether you like, you don't like, you have to go for nature's call in the morning. Nature's calls that nobody can avoid. So these are like routine duties: taking bath, brushing your teeth, answering to nature's call. These are routine work. Emergency work means suddenly there is a flood in your place. Like recently there was a flood in our Gosala. So 15 days I was out. Cows had to be shifted, etc. So that time you cannot say that no, Prabhuji, I'll peacefully do my sadhana. Okay, chant of 16 out, then no, save yourself and save other devotees, save the cows. So they're called emergency duty. And desire activities are activities as compared to which are given in the scriptures, the scriptural duties, varnashram duties. Okay. So there's 47. So there's the most famous work, famous misquoted sloka, karmanyavadika raste. Do your duty. Other is also there, don't desire the result. Ma phalesu kadachana. And don't think yourself cause of the result and don't become lazy. So all four are there, not just one part. Okay, Sarojini Mataji or Visakha Mataji?
Hare Krishna, Guruji, we say we have to do the duties without any desire for results. Then, say for example, cooking also. Then, what will be the motivation behind doing those activities? We don't want to enjoy. We have to do it as a dutiful thing. So, what should be the motivation? Then there should be some kind of motivation to do any activity.
Yes. So for those who are following varnashram duties, the motivation is I will do what is given in the scriptures. That's for a niskam karma yogi. And for a devotee, the motivation is pleasure of Krishna. We don't cook for our own pleasure, we cook for the pleasure of our deities. I will cook in such a nice way, Krishna will be pleased. I'll work in such a way that I'll earn money in my job and I will serve Krishna and the devotees. So for devotee, the motivation is not person sense gratification, the motivation is pleasure of Krishna. And for niskam karma yogi, scriptures, instruction of the scriptures. Yogastha kuru karmani. Still you have questions? No. Okay. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhayo saddhayo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Please read.
Perform your duty equipoised. O Arjuna, abounding all attachment to success or failure, such equanimity is called yoga. Hare Krishna.
So by doing this as duty, especially in the beginning means this is my duty, I will do it. And later on when the victory comes or defeat comes, that means results come. Seeing them equally. So initially one should endeavor, and later on after endeavor, when the results come, one should see them equally. Equally means ultimately if I get some sense gratification, that is temporary. If I get failure, that is temporary. So initially one can be fixed in one's duty and be peaceful in one's duty by not desiring the enjoyment that will come from the results of one's activities. That's initial. And later on when the result comes, then again you may get attached. So then you should see that these things are temporary in this world. How long will the enjoyment of rasgulla remain? Till you put it in the mouth. After it goes in the belly, it may create further troubles only, or it may give you some energy. Similarly, some troubles come in life. They were also not permanent. They will also go away in due course of time. So in this way, by learning the temporary nature of this world, one can see the sense objects equally. Now, so in this way, one can be fixed in one's gyan, one's knowledge, while performing one's duty. And further Krishna says, Durena hi avaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhayo saranam anvicha kripana phal hetavaha. Please read.
O Dhananjaya, keep all abominable activities for distant by devotional service, and in that consciousness surrender unto the Lord. Those who want to enjoy the fruits of their work are misers. Hare Krishna.
So as I told before also, Prabhupada even translates karma yoga as devotion service so that everybody performs devotion service. But literally this particular verse, when buddhi yoga is mentioned, it is actually talking about niskam karma yoga. It's not talking about devotion service. So comparing with niskam karma yoga, Krishna condemns demigod worship, karma kanda, or sakam karma yoga. So he says avaram karma, they are abominable. What? Actions performed with a desire to enjoy. They are abominable. So Krishna condemns them. That's why telling things are comparative. Compared to niskam karma yoga, it is abominable. Initially, when Krishna was talking about this Bhogaswar Prasaktana, that time Krishna was comparing karma kanda with devotion service, and he was saying it's abominable. Now, even while comparing with niskam karma yoga, he's saying it is abominable. So he's very clearly saying even niskam karma yoga is better than karma kanda. What to say of in comparison with devotion service, which is much more superior. बुद्धि युक्तो जहातीता उभे सुकृत दुष्कृते तस्माद् योगास्य युज्यस्व योगा कर्मसु कौशलम. Please read the translation.
A man engaged in devotional service rids himself of both good and bad reactions even in this life. Therefore, strive for yoga, which is the art of all work. Hare Krishna.
So this verse was like it was motto of our Kharagpur, IIT Kharagpur. So motto was yoga karmasu kausalam. So they don't know what is yoga, but still that was the motto of our college. So what Krishna says here, yogaya, you just engage in the yoga which I have described here. Among all the actions done with or without desire, be indifferent to the results, and that is a skill. So what is that karmasu kausalam or art? Art is to do work and not get entangled. That's the art. So this is the art which Krishna has talked in from 47 till 49. So this may not be devotional service, But 47 to 49 describes the art of doing work and yet not getting entangled by the reactions. So what is that art? Don't accept the motivation to enjoy sense objects for work. Do it as a duty. And when the results come, see them as temporary and don't become attached to them. Then you will not get entangled. So one who knows this art is called Yoga Karmasu Kausala. So we didn't learn this in IIT, but still they would say Yoga Karmasu Kausala. So actual yoga is to work and not get entangled. So Krishna glorifies the work way of Niskam Karma Yoga in this particular verse. So this verse number 50. Now 51. कर्मजाम बुद्धि युक्ता ही फलम त्यक्ता मनीषिना जन्म बंधे विनिर्मुक्ता पदम गच्छन्ति अनामयम.
By thus engaging in devotional service to the Lord, great sages or devotees free themselves from the result of work in the material world. In this way, they become free from the cycle of birth and death, attain the state beyond all miseries by going back to the Godhead. Hare Krishna.
As I told before, Prabhupada is talking about devotional service. He translates everything as devotional service. But literally, what Krishna is speaking is, he's saying that just by performing this Niskam Karma Yoga, rather than becoming entangled, many sages have gone to Brahman, Anamyam, that place without misery. So he's basically referring to Brahman here, that one can attain Brahman just by doing work and not desiring the fruits. So he glorifies the result of Niskam Karma Yoga. And then further he speaks. And for devotees, it is certainly back to Godhead. One who practices devotion service. Or you can say Buddhi Yoga, when it is devotion service, it is back to Godhead. And when Buddhi Yoga is Niskam Karma Yoga, the destination is Brahman. Yada te moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarisyati tada gantasi nirvedam srotavasya sutasya cha. Please use the translation.
When your intelligence has passed out of the dense forest of delusion, you shall become indifferent to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. Hare Krishna.
So by performing this Niskam Karma Yoga, you will develop neutrality yoga. And when intelligence has surpassed completely dense forest of illusion. What is dense forest of illusion? Yatate moha kalilam. Kalilam means dense forest. Dense forest of illusion means I can be happy by sense gratification. That is a dense forest of illusion. Because literally illusion means what is not there. What is not there. That's called basically illusion. So we become so much of deluded by things that things which are useless, we consider them to be something very valuable. Like generally for young people, now if they find some handkerchief of a girl, they think it is like a Mahaprasad. Oh, I got the handkerchief of that girl. Unless she has put her mucus in that. So that is called illusion. Or you go to a particular place, you see some good scenery, scenic place. One thinks, oh, such a wonderful place. But they will not show the mosquitoes of the place. They will not show the heat of the sun of that place, scorching heat of the sun. So what you see in the video is only the good things. or we imagine good things. After you go there, you may find that no, I got malaria and came back. So many mosquitoes bit me. When you see the videos of the forest, it seems as if no, they're like very heavenly place. But forests are considered to be the place of austerity. One prasthas go there. There are uneven places. You can't even sit down properly. As soon as you sit down, so many ants would attack you. Maybe even snakes would attack you. So these places, as they're advertised, they are not so. So that's called illusion. Or in the city, people want different cars, this, that. Like now, sometimes some people say, oh, such a beautiful car. Take one scrap paper and just scratch off the paints of all the car. Let us see which car looks beautiful. So just by scratching of the color. So that's called dense forest of illusion. And then what you will think? You will think, because of destruction of doubts and misconception, what is the use of these scriptural teachings for me? That means this Karma Kanda section, ultimately it is going to give sense gratification. But anyway, I am getting a higher taste than sense gratification. So these teachings have no meaning for me. Like for devotees also, now if somebody says, now if you go to that place, they'll give you a prize. What is the prize? They'll give you one bottle of liquor. And you think, now what is the prize? No, it is not a prize also. It's such a misery, or it is punishment. So we won't like to go to such a place. So similarly, same realization comes when one gets a higher taste in other Niskam Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga is anyway highest. It takes time to realize, but when that realization comes, one doesn't worry about what is promised through various sections of the Vedas or through the whole world, which promises so much of sense gratification. So one doesn't worry about it. Okay, so Prabhupada quotes the line of Madhavendra Puri. Oh, my prayers 3 times a day, all glory to you. O bathing, I offering my obeisance unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kansa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me. So these people like Madhavendra Puri were very attached to Krishna. So then they don't even worry about Sandhya Vandan, doing Gayatri 3 times a day. We should do it. I'm not talking about at our level. But somebody so attached, so exalted, for them, they don't care for so many rules and regulations also. So there's our personalities like Madhavendra Puri. Okay. So Krishna was talking about the sages. And now further he goes on towards self-realization. Shruti viprati pannate yada sthasati nischala samadhavachala buddhis tada yogam avapsyasi. Please read that translation.
When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas, and when you have attained the divine consciousness, Hare Krishna.
So Lord says, and then you will become averse to the agitation created by the subject, and your intelligence will be fixed in samadhi. That means same sections of Karma Kanda would look agitating. You will feel unnecessary, no, they are bothering me. And certainly that happens for devotees also. Now this for more for a person who has achieved Brahman. But what to say, somebody achieves higher levels of devotion service. Then accepting service from others becomes an austerity. Like now, Anand Presak Maharaj. So he was speaking in the class. So then the people in the class were like, who were practicing devotion service for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. So he was pretty open. She was telling, wherever I go, devotees want to cook for me, devotees want to cook for me. And why they want to feed this body? What this body has given me? This body has only given me miseries. If you want to please me, you sing some bhajans for me. Nah? Why you want to feed this donkey body? What this body has given me? So everybody wants to feed this body. Maharaj, can I cook for you? Maharaj, can I cook for you? So then, even little bit sense gratification looks agitating when one gets the higher taste. Or once one of my brahmachari friends, he was asking Maharaj, what would you like to take in breakfast? Maharaj not thought for some time. Then he said, Maharaj, I can't think of sense gratification at this point of time. So then he was clever. Then he said, that, Maharaj, what would you like to offer to your deities? Oh, deities, you can offer some chikus, you can offer this, you can offer that. Then he told different items. So in this way, people who are that realized, for them, talks about sense gratification unnecessarily look like disturbance. Certainly for devotees, and what to say of those who are, no, certainly for devotees and even for the people who are, so then they are not interested in the karma kanda sections of the Vedas. They look disturbing. So then that such a person, yogam avapsasi. So then he becomes jivan mukta, free from bodily conception. So this is 53. So practically Krishna is now talking about samadhi when one is like absorbed in the highest state. Okay, Raseshwar Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. True, I have doubt from previous verses. Like whatever we are doing any work, so we have to compare with, we have to check with Vedas whether we are doing correct or not. So in Vedas itself, they are glorified regarding karma kanda and the results about karma kanda. So sometime while performing Krishna consciousness, slightly will enter into karma kanda. For example, I'm telling one small example. We'll do sometimes some other like temples, they will do like Akanda Harinama Sankirtana for rains. So Harinama Sankirtana for no rains, like that's why we are doing Sankirtana for rains. So is there no, if we think deeply, it is karma kanda only. So how to check and how to compare, how to check our actions in Krishna consciousness, whether karma kanda or from Vedas?
So that is not karma kanda, that would be called a mixed devotion service. So we learn it further, the differences. That's not karma kanda, that is called mixed devotion service. At the same time, if devotees are doing it for nothing, then that even becomes pure devotion service. Because you are giving those things to the people, those things which appeal them. Like a new person is there, if you tell him chant Hare Krishna, you'll get love of Godhead. He'll say, I don't want love of Godhead. You tell him that now you'll get rid of cycle of birth and death. He says, oh, if I'll get rid of cycle of birth and death, that means I will not get next body. How will I enjoy? He'll become fearful and run away. So sometimes for new people, you have to give that bait. When you catch a fish, you put a bait. So that bait of some material benefit. So initially, sometimes some students are there. You tell them, you chant Hare Krishna, you'll get good concentration power. Or somewhere rains are not going on, you tell them you do Harinam, you'll get rains. So that's more for a preaching purpose. And as soon as he develops faith in chanting of the holy names, then you tell them the glories of the holy name. Slowly person becomes purified. After some time, he will get more enjoyment in chanting Hare Krishna than deriving something out of chanting Hare Krishna. That is the time we bring him to a higher pedestal, higher understanding. That's why seventh offense is, what is the seventh offense? Not the seventh offense. That preaching glories of the holy name
Ninth.
to one who doesn't have faith in the holy name.
Ninth, I believe.
Ninth, yes. So that's why initially we just encourage people to chant Hare Krishna. Only when they have understanding of Hare Krishna, we tell them glories of the chanting of the holy names. Because initially if you tell, they will unnecessarily offend. So initially that's why we give them something which appeals to them, and due course of time we bring them to a higher understanding. So we are not just keeping them in the same condition, we are slowly raising their consciousness. Like if we see Krishna also, basically he wants people to take to Krishna consciousness. So initially he glorified Karmakanda, then he condemned Karmakanda when he spoke about Niskam Karma Yoga. He condemned Karmakanda when he spoke about Bhakti Yoga. You will find in middle 8 chapters, initially Krishna glorifies mixed devotion service. Chaturveda Majante Mam Jana Sukriti Arjuna Artvartarthi Jigyasu Gyaninja Bhartar Seva. Are they are coming to me out of distress? They are very good people. They are coming to get money. They are very good people. And later on in 8th chapter, he says, but those who practice devotion service, they are even better. Because karma, gyan, mesra, yoga, mesra, bhakti, I have to take so much trouble. For pure devotees, I take my. So in this way, for preaching purpose, it's okay. But for our own purpose, we have to see. Then fine, initially we may be at that level. Slowly we have to raise our consciousness and make it only for the pleasure of Krishna. Having faith that whatever Krishna will do with me is the best. Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Okay. Now, Arjuna, so that discussion of Samadhi, now practically topic now switches to the, you can say Gyan or Gyan Yoga, but even I would say Gyan, because goal of Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, everything is Brahman. So one who is in Samadhi and who is about to achieve Brahman, Arjuna has questions related to them. So then he basically wants to know, how can I realize that some person is Jivan Mukta? He is free from bodily conception of life. So then Arjuna has questions related to that from 54. Arjuna Vacha Isita Pragasya ka bhasa samadhi dastasya kesava Siddhi kim prabhaseta kima sita vrajet kim. Please read the translation.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendences? How does he speak and what is his language and how does he sit? How does he walk? Hare Krishna.
So Arjuna has question. Sthita pragya. Sthita pragya is similar to, in the last verse, it was talking about achala buddhi. Achala buddhi means unflinching intelligence. Intelligence which is always fixed on Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, or fixed in the instruction of the scriptures. Till we are practicing, it may not be achala buddhi. Like for all of us also, sometimes you are very fixed. Oh, whatever Krishna says, Guru says, we will do. Especially when we are sitting on Vyasan, giving class or hearing, maybe sometimes hearing also we become inspired. But after some time, there is no achala buddhi. We give up to sense gratification. So that is not fixed. But Krishna is talking about sthita pragyasya, one whose buddhi is fixed. That's achala buddhi. So these are the symptoms of Jivan Mukta. So Arjuna has a different question for them. First is ka bhasa. Ka bhasa means what are the qualities that describe him? That means tell me the qualities by which I can understand this particular person is Jivan Mukta. So ka bhasa. What are the qualities which describe him? Then ka kim prabhaseta. So okay, first I'll see the qualities, then what will he say when he sees happiness and distress? That means not just externally, even internally. So one is external talk. So those who externally respond to happiness and distress, they are pretty gross. In the sense that somebody comes and respects you. Oh, you have realized who am I? I'm such a great soul. You realize it after such a long time. Such people are very gross. But sometimes in practice of sadhana bhakti, what happens with all of us is, externally you say, no, Prabhuji, why you're now paying obeisances to me? And internally we may feel, anyway, he has recognized that I'm a senior devotee. So that's internal speech also. But the question Arjuna is asking, what does he speak both externally and internally? Kim prabhasita. Then next comes kim asita. Kim asita means when he's surrounded by sense objects, how does he behave? How does he behave when he's surrounded by sense objects? So there is saying in English, morality is lack of opportunity. So many times people criticize others, speak big words, because they don't have opportunity for sense gratification. Like many people criticize the politicians saying that he's corrupt. But the question is, if you are made politician and you are put in that post, can you prevent yourself from corruption? That is the test. So you don't have opportunity to become corrupt, so you are not corrupt. So real test is kim asita. How does he behave when he's surrounded by sense objects? Then vrajet kim. Vrajet kim means at the same time, how does he respond to the sense objects? So one thing is, how does he avoid? Second is, how does he deal with them? Because till you have this body, you have to deal with sense objects. You can't go anywhere. Like sages in the earlier ages, they would go to the forest. But then if you go to the forest, after a certain time, Indra will send some apsara there. So there also you will be tested. So till you have this body, you have to deal with the sense objects around you. So how does he deal with them? Like now one brahmachari was asking to some devotee, Prabhuji, earlier we used to see so many apsaras coming, Indra coming, sending apsaras. So why nowadays we don't find some devotee meeting some apsara? So then that devotee answered, he said, Indra had to send apsara because they would go to forest. Now you are right there in the city. There's no need of apsara. So sense objects are there. There are objects for tongue, eyes, ears, nose, skin, everything. So you are surrounded by them. How do you deal with them? Even if you go to forest, you may find some mango tree, some mangoes coming down, sweet smelling mangoes. So you have to deal with them. What can be done? So then Krishna starts answering them one by one. Before that, you can, anyway, small purport, you can read the purport.
As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a deceased man has a symptoms by which he is known as deceased, or as a learned man has symptoms, so a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man in Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak. And certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of Krishna consciousness man is that he speaks only of Krishna and matters relating to him. Other symptoms then automatically follow, as stated below. Correct.
The famous thing both in English and in India also, we find the example of Kalidas. Kalidas was cutting the same branch in which he was sitting. And then there are many Pandits, scholarly people, who were defeated by a princess. They wanted to take revenge from this princess. So they dressed this foolish person like a big sage, and then he kept him in front of the princess, and he told that he's my guru, but he has taken Maun Vrat. He will not speak. He will just tell by signal. So then we will interpret. So then all Pandits' intelligence was put together and princess was in one place. So then princess knows she showed one finger. And this fool thought, no, he's saying that I'll no pierce your eyes with the finger. So then he became very angry. He showed two fingers like this. Then if you pierce my eye with one finger, I'll pierce both of your eyes with two fingers. Then she said, what is this? And they started interpreting. So they were saying that you said that ultimately there's one God, one super soul. But our Guru is saying, although there's one super soul, but soul and super soul are different, although they exist in the one body. So the body is one, soul is one, but still two souls, soul and super soul, exist in the same body. She said, oh, very intelligent. No, he knows so much detail. Then she showed like this. So this fool thought, no, she is saying, I'll slap you. So then he showed, no, hand like that. If you slap me, I'll punch you. And then she said, what is this? He said that you meant to say that this body is made up of Panch Mahabhuts. Earth, water, fire, ether. But my Guru is saying, only this Panch Mahabhut, when they come together and make a body, this body becomes purposeful. Otherwise, what will this Panch Mahabhut do? So then she becomes really impressed. So she becomes defeated, and then she marries this man. But when he looks out of the window and he finds one camel there, then he starts saying, oosh, oosh, oosh. Then she said, what is oosh? She looks out and she found there is a camel. He was trying to tell his Ustra, but he was not able to speak. Then she understands, oh, he's a fool. So this is what exactly Prabhupada is speaking here, that the fool remains undiscovered till he opens his mouth. Of course, later on, she throws him out of the house and he works very hard and becomes a big scholar called Kalidas. There is a Hindi saying, there is a Rassi aavad jate, sil par padat nisan, the second line. That if karat parya abhyas ke janmate hot sujan, Rassi aavad jate, sil par padat nisan. He sees that a rope was passing through one stone, because in the well you use the rope for taking out water. And then there were marks of the rope on the stone also. So he thinks if I work very hard, I will get success. So that inspires him to become a big scholar. But the point is, Prabhupada is talking about speaking. So how a guru can be known? He can be known by if he speaks about Krishna. So Prabhupada gave this answer to George Harrison. One who speaks about Krishna, one who serves Krishna 24 hours a day, he is a spiritual master. Now Krishna starts answering one by one. So then verse number 55, sorry, 56. I'm sorry, 55. Yeah, 55. Krishna starts answering first question. Ka bhasa. By what qualities is this person known? So qualities of a Sat Pragya is given in text number 55. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmani evatmana tushtaha sthapragastadochate. Please read the translation.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and then when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. Hare Krishna.
So nature of this Jivan Mukta is explained in this verse. For even one desire for any object doesn't remain, as they belong to the mind. And this person realizes that I am not the mind. So this person can see one's existence different from the mind. He sees the intrinsic quality of the soul. And actually speaking, this is some exercise which is recommended even for devotees. Manorathena asti dhavato bahi. Devotees don't ride on the chariot of the mind. That means whether you like, you don't like, still one should chant Hare Krishna. Not that, no, I like today, I'll chant 32 rounds, next day I don't like, I'll not chant any round. So mind may be in distress, mind may be happiness, we still chant. So a lot of things may come in the mind, but when we sit down with our beats for chanting, we should remember, I am not the mind. I will not become servant of mind. I will become servant of the holy name. So I will just concentrate on the holy name. I will not concentrate on what comes in the mind, because I'm not a servant of mind. I will not serve the mind. I'll serve the holy name. So similarly, this person who has realized intrinsic quality of the soul, manogatan, mind may get lot of desires for objects. He doesn't identify with them. He looks like a seer of the mind. He doesn't identify with the mind. So he is satisfied with Atmana Tushtaha. He doesn't take the help of mind for enjoying sense objects. He becomes happy with the satisfaction which comes from identifying oneself as soul, different from body. Because soul is made up of Sachid Ananda. He realizes that Ananda and he experiences the bliss of that Ananda. Atmani in the mind. So that means he withdraws his sense objects or his attention from the sense objects. And typical example for that is Sukadeva Goswami. So Sukadeva Goswami was sent by Vyasdev to Janak Maharaj. To learn Brahma Vidya means spiritual science. So Sukadeva Goswami was sitting outside the palace for 3 days. No response was there. But because his guru and father, Vyasdev, had sent him, he sits there. Then Janak Maharaj calls him inside. So he tells him that you have some seva. What is the seva? He gives him glass of milk filled with glass filled with milk up to the top. He tells him, go around the whole court, whole palace, come back here. And then he goes through the various places. Some places, some nice music was going on. Some place where nice cooking was going on. You will get good smell. Some places, some ladies were singing and dancing. Some places, there was some drama going on. And he goes through the whole place, comes back. The milk from the glass doesn't spill off. Janaka Maharaj says, service is done. Then he makes him sit and he puts one cube of sugar in his tongue. And he says, you should not eat it, and you should not even desire to eat it. And after some time, he takes out the sugar cube and he sees it is totally dry, not wet. No saliva was secreted. Janaka Maharaj said, you are already qualified. You don't need a Brahma Vidya. Already you realize that I am not the body. So in this way, such people, they are extremely sense controlled because they are taking pleasure in the soul. They get a higher pleasure. So they don't look for the pleasures of sense gratification in this world. So it's very rare, but these are the qualities. So why did I explain this particular, told this pastime to explain that these qualities can be tested, whether somebody is Sthipragya or not Sthipragya. So the 55 and 56. 56 and 57 answers the question number 2. What is the question number 2? Kim Prabhaseta, how does he speak? That means, what does he say in happiness and distress or sense objects come in front of him, both internally and externally? What he speaks or his mind speaks. That is 56, 57. Dukhesu anudvignmana sukhesu vigatspraha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthita dhir muniruchyate. Please read the translation.
One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries are elated when there is happiness. And who is free from attachment, fear, and anger is called a sage of steady mind. Correct.
So when happiness or distress comes, what he says? It is my prarabdha karma coming back. That means reactions of mind, deeds are coming. Whom should I be angry at? I should not unnecessarily curse the objects which are giving me misery, because they are just instruments of my karma. So then he doesn't unnecessarily blame them. This typically comes in this verse of Bhagavatam by Avanti Brahmana. So he said, Na maham jano me sukha dukkha hetu, na devatatma graha karma kala, mana param karanam amananti, sansara dukkham pravartayet yat. So what he says? Naham jano me sukha dukkha hetu. All these people who have been troubling me, because this Avanti Brahmana, he was troubled by so many people. There were people who would pass urine on him when he was about to eat. He would pass urine on the food. People who would capture him. People who would take away his belongings. And they would tease him. People who would beat him so that he breaks his vow of silence. And what he says? Naham jano me sukha dukkha hetu. These people are causes of my misery. They are actually not causes of misery. Why? Because they are instrument of my karma. Then na devat atma, dev. It's not that demigods are giving you misery. Because ultimately demigods give you what is there in your karma. Atma, I myself is not cause of my misery. Why? Because miseries are coming from body and I am not this body. Graha means planet. Somebody says, Rahu is bad, Sunny is bad. Sunny and Rahu are arranged according to one's karma only. They are not cause. Karma, my own deeds are also not cause of my misery. Why? Because result of karmas come on body, but I am not the body. Kala means time. Time is very bad. Time can cause effect to the body, not to the soul. So in this way, this person, he was not disturbed. One who realized that I am not body, I am soul, he is not disturbed. So he is undisturbed in misery and has no desire for enjoying when there is opportunity for happiness. Sense gratification, he is getting a higher taste, he doesn't care for it. So Vitarag, he is devoid of attachment to enjoyment. So he is not attached of what he has. That's called Vitarag. He is not fearful of what will happen in the future. Bhaya. And Krodha, he is not angry at those people who may even attack him or cause him misery. So he is not worried about any of these things. A typical example is the example of Jal Bharat. So when these dacoits, they were trying to kill Jal Bharat in front of Kali. Jal Bharat didn't oppose. He didn't pray to Kali that, oh Kali, you are servant of Krishna only, save me. Or even not saying, oh, Krishna is not saving me, at least you save me. It is Kali who came out of the deity and killed all these dacoits. Jal Bharat didn't oppose. Rather, he was very happy. He thought that if these people kill me, I will be liberated from this body and I'll go back to Godhead. And after Kali saved him, he didn't change his deity of worship. Oh, Krishna didn't save me, Kali saved me, I'll now devote to Kali. He was fixed in his self-realization and he just went ahead with his practice of Krishna consciousness. So, in this way, this person is not very angry with others. So, that's why this person is steady in mind. So, these are the qualities of speech. That is how he behaves. And 57 further talks about it. See, 56 were talking about gross misery, much more. 57 talks about subtle miseries. It's more subtle. Ya sarvatra nabhi snehas tattat prapya subha subham nabhi nandanti na dveshti tasya pragya pratishtita. Please read.
In the material world, one who is in the material world, one who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither prizing it nor despising it. He is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge.
So he abhi sneha. Sneha means affection. Sneha, affection. So this person is without affections which are subject to mental conditions. That means he knows that relationships in this world, things in this world will be taken away in due course of time. So he doesn't invest his affection in all these things. But he may be having affection out of compassion. That is not denied even for Brahmavadis. So affection due to compassion is celebrated even for Brahmavadis. It is not condemned. So that may be there, but not affection for sense gratification. See, sometimes we are attached to people not because we have some compassion for them, because we also derive some sense gratification from them in form of some emotional reciprocation. So that may not be exactly on a spiritual level, that may be on emotional level. Emotionally, somebody praises us, takes care of us. But this person doesn't have sat sneha, sat affection also. Subham means when people are respecting him, feeding him, he doesn't tell them, either internally or externally. What he doesn't tell them? Oh, you have served this great devotee, I'll bless you. So he doesn't praise them either internally or externally. Or somebody, Asubham means somebody disrespects him, punches him, gives him trouble. He doesn't curse him externally or internally. You offended such a great devotee, go to hell. Or internally he says, no, go to hell. So this is for a person, these are the qualities of a person who is sthita pragya. Now 58 to 63 will talk about how he controls his senses when he's surrounded with us by the sense objects. That is the third one, Kim Asita. How does he remain sitting in front of inactive, or he remains inactive to sensual stimulation? But because 5 minutes are remaining, so what I'll do, I'll not go further. Rather, if some devotees have some questions, they can ask me. Okay, Sita Rampu already has a question.
Krishna Prabhu, this is related to 2.39 verse. So in the purport, there it is mentioned like the God, the Krishna creates by looking over Prakriti. And the description in the Vedas indicates that the Lord glanced over Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. But when we are discussing, our understanding is that the souls are already there with Krishna, and we want to enjoy like them, so that he has sent us to the material world. So how do I understand this?
Actually, I couldn't hear your first line.
God creates by looking over Prakriti. That is the first line.
No, before that you spoke something. That time your signal was cut.
Actually, it is 2.39 per. I have a question.
There's a big purport. Which section are you talking about?
I copied, so I don't know. So he creates by looking over the Prakriti. This is accepted in the Vedas and in the Gita. The description in the Vedas indicate that the Lord glanced over the Prakriti or nature and impregnated it with atomic individual souls. What my question is, our understanding is that the souls are already there in Goloka or along with him. And we wanted to enjoy like him by seeing him, and so he has sent us to this material world. So how do I understand the connection between these two?
Okay. I understood your question now. This is talking about time of creation. When there is destruction, all the living entities, they sleep deeply in the body of Mahavishnu. And when there is creation again, Lord transfers all the living entities through his glance into the material nature again. This is not talking about descending from spiritual world.
Okay.
This is talking about regular creation and destruction which is going on. Okay.
One more question, Prabhu. In the same purport, it is mentioned like that Sankhya Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are same. So how do we understand?
See, that's why what I told is that Prabhupada translates Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, everything as same. Because he doesn't want people to practice anything apart from Krishna consciousness. And Sankhya Yoga given by Lord Kapila is actually targeting ultimately to bring person to devotion service only. Third canto Sankhya Yoga. But there is also Sankhya which is a part of Sardarshan given by Athishti Kapila. That doesn't bring one to bhakti. But third canto Sankhya Yoga brings one to bhakti. So that's why the atheistic Sankhya or counting of 24 elements can be atheistic. If you count soul, it will be part of Gyan Sastras. But when the description of bhakti also is there as given by Lord Kapila, then it will be part of devotion service.
So
In general, Sankhya Yoga is a part of Jnana Yoga, in general.
So like we can understand, like as this Sankhya Yoga leads to Bhakti Yoga, so it's like both are same.
No. See, when we say Sankhya, Sankhya comes from the word Sankhya. Sankhya means counting. So there are 24 metal elements. You count only 24, then you are talking only about matter. Then that would be a part of atheistic philosophy. If you bring 25th in picture, that is soul. But don't bring super soul in picture. Or you say soul and super soul are same. Then it will be part of Gyan Sastras. You see soul who is different from 24 elements. If you talk about 24 elements, how soul is different from that, at the same time is part and parcel of the Lord, and one should do Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam for the Lord, then it will be part of devotion service. So how you count it matters. So Lord Kapila in third canto begins with 24 elements, but later on he talks about mixed devotion service also, pure devotion service also. He talks about all these things. So then finally person comes to devotion service. So Prabhupada, he doesn't want to leave a single stone unturned. Anybody reads one purport should end up in devotion service. So Prabhupada is not talking about all the details of atheistic Sankhya, Jnana Yoga. He directly talking about Bhakti only. He is not discussing about other two. He mentions about atheistic Kapila, but like not so elaborately.
Okay, Hare Krishna.
Very well. So it's already 9 o'clock. Some devotees sent me homework, 3 devotees, and I answered them also. Other devotees, I don't know whether they did the homework. But if you want to really understand further chapters, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita are the toughest. So that's why if you don't go through that graph, you don't memorize it nicely, you will not understand further. So memorize it. Some devotees have sent me, and I also, I don't know, one common confusion was there with many devotees, that Niskam Karma Yoga involves getting free from dualism mentality. No, it's not like that. Niskam Karma Yoga begins with freedom from desire of not enjoying the results of one's activities. In due course of time, one can get rid of dualism mentality. So prerequisite is only freedom from not desiring to enjoy the fruits of one's work. After some progress, they can get free from dualism mentality. Then gradually they can even get rid of false ego, I am body, gross or subtle. So then one realizes I am soul. That's called Brahman realization. So that happens gradually. But prerequisite is only that. So remember all the prerequisites. What is prerequisite for Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, all these things. Okay, so we'll end here. There would be some homework which I'll directly give in the, I'll send in the WhatsApp group. We'll end here. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Hare Krishna. WhatsApp.
Jai Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.